Welcome to the Sharpe Show. Yes, it is 7 p.m. on the East Coast. You know what that means. You got to look at my mug. It's how it works. Yes. And today, are we lucky? We were trying to do Big Brain Sunday all the time. We were, but the problem with Big Brain Sunday was I kept getting busy trying to get signatures on Sunday because I'm trying to get signatures every weekend. So that didn't work out as planned. So instead, we've been bouncing around. Big Brain Thursday, Friday, whatever. Today, it's Big Brain Friday. You guys have been answering my polls. Thank you. I've been putting the polls out on my polling out on Twitter and on Facebook, and you have been answering. Thank you so much. Questions, and then I'm trying to give you the answers that you are concerned about. And usually you're right, which is awesome. But even when you're not, it doesn't matter. I still I'm good to you anyway. It doesn't really matter. So thank you so much for going to the polling. We get when we count all the poll answers, we get thousands of responses. It's amazing. So I'm glad you guys are on board with this and that you're enjoying the ideas. So if you do like what I'm doing and you want it to keep growing, please do the old like, comment, and share thing. I say it every time. Why? Because it matters. You should be clicking the buttons. If you're watching this and not clicking something, what's wrong with you? Click something. Click the hate. Click the sad. Click the happy. Click the dis. I don't care. Click something. Click them all. Just click something to get those algorithms going. It is important. So please do that. If you can share it, even better. If you can comment, even nicer. I appreciate all of the things. And to support the show, as I say every time, our sponsor is libertarianism.com. Please go there, share that, take the quizzes, get the cool merch. All good. I do appreciate it. Now, there were two separate polls that we talked about. And the one I want to bring up is the one that was, I guess, the older one, which was what was most responsible for the opioid crisis. And it was a part that I thought some people might say, well, it's the big pharma companies. It's all their fault or something like that, right? What most of you said, which I, of course, agree with, is the idea of government and or the war on drugs, kind of in that combination of government action being most responsible for the opioid crisis. And you're right. Wait a minute, Larry. You're telling me government, are you some conspiracy guy who's saying the government got us all hooked on drugs? That's not what I'm saying. I mean, that might have happened, but that's not what I'm saying. No. What I'm saying is severalfold. Number one, as when it comes to addicts, and then when it comes to things like meth, heroin, fentanyl, all those things, the reason is because of government. Be very clear. It's the number one reason. It isn't the only reason. I wish it was, but it's a huge chunk. Let me give you a stat that many of you may not know. 80% of all of our addicts became an addict from a prescription, FDA-approved, government-prescribed, government okayed, and doctor-prescribed, licensed by the government, drug. 80%. Think about that. So when people get hooked, most of the time it's because of that. So what was our response? Our response in many places, was let's sue pharma because that'll stop them, which it didn't. Well, let's not pull any drugs off the market. Let's just sue pharma. I know we'll get those doctors because they're the bad ones. That'll stop them. And what happened when they did that with the doctors? Well, here's the problem. When they decided to punish pharma or doctors, it became harder for people who got hooked on opioids to get their opioid drugs, their safe opioid drugs. Yeah. And it became expensive now. Well, it's black market. So if you can't get your opioid drugs and you're an addict and you need to have them, I know I've had addicts in my family. And if you have, you know what I'm talking about. You're going to get your drug. That's going to happen, right? Law, rules, you get your drug. You will do whatever's required to get your drug. That's what addicts do. That's how it works. So what happens? Well, I can't afford the expensive opioids. I'll get whatever's on the street. That's where meth comes from. Meth doesn't come because, you know what? I just want to make terrible stuff and blow up my house. That's not why meth was there. Meth is there because meth is cheap. That's the reason. It's real cheap. Heroin, it's a whole lot cheaper than cocaine. You might go, wait a minute, Larry, you tell me people just do cocaine? Yes, they would. Or nowadays, Adderall. How do I know that? Because the bankers who are staying up all night, they were on cocaine left and right in the 90s, early 2000s. That was the drug of choice. They were on coke. Lots of them were. They're not getting addicted. That's a safe drug. It's an expensive drug. And you've got to make 6 or 7 figures a year so you can afford a cocaine habit. That's kind of how it works. Now, a lot of them take Adderall instead. Yes, they literally will crack up Adderall and snort it. That's a thing. And those of you in that world, you know what I'm talking about. But those of you who aren't, you may not have known that. So Adderall, also a more expensive drug. They take that instead. They take the more expensive drugs because they have the money. Because government made those drugs expensive by limiting them. Yes. So government limited any option other than opioids. So when you have a pain medication, you have 3 choices. Suffer, that's one. Some people do that. Get an opioid, which is a high addiction rate. Or 3, get cannabis. Oh, but that's illegal. Go to jail. So jail, suffering, opioid that has a high chance for you to be addicted. Now, I am not against opioids. For some people, it is exactly the right answer. For some illnesses, it's exactly the right answer. I don't want to end opioids. That is not a good idea. What I want to do is allow the choice of cannabis products. We can't do that, but we should allow that because then some people will choose cannabis products, which will be better for some people, and they won't get addicted to opioids. See? Less addicts, government got in the way, it's broken. But I'm not done. Still not done. Now I have a bunch of addicts. Well, they want to get out of their addiction. They don't want to be addicted, right? Of course, the vast majority of addicts later on in their addiction don't want to be addicted. Sometimes early on, they don't realize that it's a problem and they like to be addicted. They don't think they're addicted. They want to keep going. But at one point, most addicts either die, which is sad, or they realize, yeah, this is not good for me. And they want to get out. But they have withdrawal symptoms. And their brain yells at them, don't you do this. Withdrawal sucks. Go get your drug. It'll be okay. And their brain, because they're an addict, convinces them to not get clean and to go and forget the drug again. That's what happens. That's human. That's what addicts do. I got it. So when that happens, we don't allow them to use cannabis products. Why? Because government. Because cannabis products can help many people, not all, it's not magic, but there's a huge chunk of people who could be helped by using a cannabis product to deal with withdrawal symptoms so their brain will be in the right spot so they can actually stop their addiction. Again, that's demonstrably true, right? Demonstrably true. Cannabis is not a gateway drug. It's an exit ramp. That's what it actually is. It's an exit ramp. But we can't do that because government. So now I can't get my cannabis product, so I've got to use opioids. Well, you might say, Larry, what if they don't want to use cannabis products? What if they'd rather just use a support system, right? That's a lot of people deal with that. My mother was an addict. I was her support system. I gave her lots of time and energy and support, money and everything I could possibly do to support her, and she kicked her habit. Awesome. That's a good success story. That's not everybody's story. I wish it was. So you might say, well, Larry, you know what? Why don't we just provide more of a support system, right? People can support them, family and such. That will be great. Except possession is a crime. It should not be a crime. That's government. If you rob to get your drug, that's a crime. The robbing part is, not the drug part. If you hurt someone to get your drug, that's a crime. The hurting part, not the drug part. But if you have the drug, that should not ever be a crime. It is. Well, Larry, why do you care? Because that's why family doesn't want to be around you. Because if they're around you, they also go to jail because, oh, well, it was in your car, it was in your house, whatever. And cops don't care. Prosecutors don't care. It's the law. They enforce the law. Boom, everyone goes to jail. Everyone knows that. So why would I want my addict in my house or in my car? Why would I want to drive them someplace? Why would I want to help them? No, I leave them alone. I literally push them out of the world that they need the most. Who, when they're in trouble, will be there for them? Other addicts. What many people who don't know that world don't know is being an addict is very social. It's very true. Addicts are some of the most, this is going to sound crazy, but it's true. Again, if you know this world, you'll understand what I'm saying. Addicts are some of the most social, nicest people you'll find. They let everybody in. Come on in. Let's do it. So you're in trouble. You're hurting. Where are you going to go? Back to addicts. What's the odds of you stopping? You can't. You can't go back home. Your parents don't want you. Brothers and sisters don't want you. Family doesn't want you. Friends don't want you. They don't want to go to jail. So government makes it virtually impossible for a person who, once they get addicted, to even get help. Their only answer is jail. Now, jail, for some people, that is an answer. I hate that, but I'm just being honest. I'm giving you the truth. For some people, jail's the answer. For my mother, that's what it was. Her arrest, she was done. That's what made her realize she got to help. That's when I stepped in. When she lost everything, that's when I stepped in. And that's the bottom for some people. Some people, though, not even jail. Some people, they're still addicts in jail because there's drugs in jail. So some people are actually addicts even in jail, even in prison, and they come out addicts. Even that happens. So some people, not even jail works. I would like jail to not be the only way someone can get clean, or death. That's really not a good idea. I know what you're going to say. Larry, fentanyl. Got to be against fentanyl. Here's what some of you don't understand about that either. That is also because government. Why? Because the drugs are so expensive, they want cheap drugs. Fentanyl is cheap, but they're getting trapped and caught with fentanyl. No, that's not true. No, that is a lie. They want fentanyl. I'm not joking. Again, if you know this world, then you know what I'm talking about. They want fentanyl. When they hear people are dying of overdose, that doesn't turn them off. That turns them on. They want that high. Many of them are searching, particularly the younger ones. They're searching for that powerful high again, the one they got when they first did this. And they search for that powerful high. They think fentanyl will give it to them. Yes, they want it. So if we gave them less expensive, better, safer drugs, they wouldn't want fentanyl. There wouldn't be a market for fentanyl. They're smuggling fentanyl, trying to kill us. No, the addicts are asking for it. They actually want fentanyl. They're looking for fentanyl, literally. Again, I'm not making this up. You can do your own homework. It's demonstrably true. Government stops it. Now we got fentanyl. We could just let people have safer drugs. We could just give them support structures and stop the government from getting in the way. We could not just arrest everybody because of possession. We could do all those things. We could let cannabis be a legal alternative and stop people from being addicts and then help them once they are addicts. Now, every problem I mentioned is because government. If we would let people have cheaper drugs, literally meth would not be a thing. Neither would fentanyl, because they would get safer drugs. They're not trying to die. They're trying to get high and trying to get rid of their withdrawal symptoms. They don't believe they're going to die from fentanyl. Obviously, they're wrong, but they don't believe it. So they go out and they do it because they've taken fentanyl before and haven't died. So they think, oh, okay. And now the news story. You heard this. You can touch fentanyl and die. Utter garbage, made up by the government, not true whatsoever, ever. Totally full. You don't touch fentanyl and die. How many people will be dead crossing the border, bringing fentanyl across? They'd all be dead. You tell me not one balloon pops? You know what I'm talking about. Right now, one balloon pops? Stop. That's a total and utter lie. That's not how it works. All the people handling it, they'd all be dead. That's made up. That's government scaring you that fentanyl is going to kill everybody in the world. There's tons of fentanyl in this stuff. Government is getting in the way. It is stopping people. It's helping people get addicted. It's stopping them from becoming clean. It's pushing them into the black market. It's pushing them away from their support system. And it's putting them in a spot where they have to get cheaper, more dangerous drugs. And that's why they're dying. And I'm going to tell you something that will make some of you upset. But I will say it anyway because it's true. People, whenever I go out, people always tell me, Larry, how can you say the way what you're saying? My son, my cousin, my niece, my nephew died from overdose. Why don't you want to stop it? I'm the only one giving you an answer to stop. I'm going to say that one more time. I'm the only one giving you an answer to stop. No one else is. They're just making themselves feel good by being tougher on it. But the reason why your niece or your nephew or son or daughter died, the odds are they died of an overdose. And when they died of an overdose, you're going to say, well, those drugs. No, drugs did not kill your loved one. The war on drugs killed your loved one. That's who you should be mad at. So if you're going to be mad at somebody because your loved one died, I get it. You should be. Blame the last 8 presidents. Every one of them could have, and the one now too, could, if they want to, take cannabis off Schedule 1. End the war on drugs. The last 8 presidents could have done it. Not one of them did. Biden didn't. Trump didn't. Obama didn't. Bush didn't. Clinton didn't. Reagan didn't. Carter didn't. And Nixon started it. So So I guess I can't get Nick because he started. So I guess Ford didn't do it. So that's the 8 is Ford, right? You can't expect Nixon to stop it. He started it. I mean, his fault for starting it. But all the 8 presidents after them jumped right on board. None of them stopped it. Blame any of them. And I will say to anybody, if you lost your loved one because of drug overdose, drugs did not kill your loved one. The war on drugs killed your loved one. Without the war on drugs, without government intervention, your loved one might still be an addict. I don't know that, but they'd probably be alive. And I don't know how many I love yous it takes to get your loved one back in, if it is the first or the 100th or the 500th, whatever it is. But if they're taking safer drugs, they still might be an addict and be in trouble. But maybe that 492nd I love you will get them to go, all right, let's get some help. Let's get our life back together. That's what I have to say about the war on drugs. You guys who said it's government and then it is war on drugs, yes, it is government and the war on drugs that is most responsible for the opioid crisis. That's the biggest issue. There are others, of course. This is not a one size fits all. Nope. It is. There are many issues, but without question, it is the biggest one. I'll grab some of your comments. And then I hit the other point if I can. So, all righty. Wally says, see you tomorrow in Maine. Yes, but I will not be in Maine. It is remote. So yes, the Maine LP will be hearing from me remotely, not in person. I will actually be here getting signatures because I will be speaking of the war on drugs, I'll be at the New York City Cannabis Parade tomorrow, out there getting signatures so I can get in the ballot. And so you can join me there if you want to. You can head over to my Facebook page if you like to, Larry Sharpe Facebook page, and you will see the events, and I will be there. So if you want to come say hi, sign a petition, I will be there in New York City tomorrow if you want to. If you want to help out, LarrySharpe.com/volunteer. Please volunteer, come on out, get some signatures. The easiest thing you can do if you want to help out, go to LarrySharpe.com. Click the sign a petition, download 2 petitions. You sign one, someone else you know signs another. You swap, you witness them each because you cannot witness your own signature. So you both sign each separately, then swap. You both witness each other's, put them in the mail, send them into the campaign. The address is right there. That helps out tremendously. Do that. If you can go get signatures, I need them as much as possible. Absolutely. If you like this cool shirt I have on, you can get one of them. Head over to LarrySharpe.com/shop. Pick up a t-shirt. Yes, it's an expensive t-shirt because you're supporting the campaign. You can either just send me money if you want to. If you don't like, if the t-shirt's too expensive, don't get a t-shirt. Go to LarrySharpe.com/donate. Just give me money. So you can either give me money and get a t-shirt, or just give me money. I'm fine either way. I think I'd rather you have the t-shirt, but whatever. All good. So either one you can do, please. It is very helpful to take that if you can, of course. So let me grab a couple more if I could. All righty. Let's see here. Here. Dylan, I'm not sure. Is this for me? If you really care, contact me. If you don't, you prove who you are. I'm not sure what you're asking me, Dylan. Have you reached out to the campaign? Maybe I haven't seen you. So we'll see. I will look for you if that's for me. I don't know if it is. So yes. Tubb says, when I grow up, I want to be Mr. Sharpe. I like that. We could all be that. Yes. Red says, good evening, Larry Sharpe. Glad I made it for the live stream. Looking forward to Larry Sharpe's take on these issues. Thank you. I hope that was good. Yes. Scott says, the vast majority of opioid overdoses are from heroin. Yes, I've heard that. I have heard that. Yes, absolutely. Scott also says, magnesium deficiency is involved in every step of addiction. There's less magnesium in food from developed countries. Oh, is that real? Oh, look at that. Interesting. So there we go. We should be adding magnesium then on top of it. Yes, absolutely. 100%. So Glenn says, my father died from cocaine abuse at 39. Wow. I'm so sorry to hear that, Glenn. My dad, it was 41 when he died, but it was not of drug overdose. It was abuse. It was from cancer. So I was 18, almost 19 years ago. I'm almost 40 for reference sake. Yeah, it's difficult, right? This is a good point, Glenn. I'm glad you brought this up. This opioid crisis has been trashing America for decades, right? When I was growing up as an adult, it wasn't as bad. When I was growing up in the 70s, alcohol, I think, was worse. Alcohol now is really bad too, but it was worse then. And there was a name we used to call people who were alcoholics. You might know this word. We used to call them winos, because they would often buy cheap wine in a bag and drink cheap wine They'd often fall asleep literally in the street. They would just keep drinking until they just passed out in the street. And we used to call them winos. And it was almost like a joke, almost like the town drunk type thing. And I remember how bad that felt, right? At first, as a kid, when I heard, I thought, oh, that's like a joke. He's like a clown or something, is what I thought as a kid. And as I got older, I'm like, no, this is someone who's like in trouble. I didn't get it when I was a kid. I thought, oh, it's like a clown. He's like joking, right? It's funny. No, I mean, sometimes they were funny because they were doing funny things. They would often dance and do funny things to get money for their alcohol. That was the thing. They would dance or sing, and people would get money, and they were going to go, get wine. So sometimes they were funny. That's true. They were sometimes funny. I didn't realize how much pain they were in until I got older and looked back and saw what that was. Then then everybody was a crackhead, right? That was the thing. Oh, everybody was a crackhead. They were calling them that. But that was back in the 80s. So opioid crisis was trashing poor black neighborhoods, poor brown neighborhoods decades ago. Now it's mainstream, right? Now it's mainstream. So now people think it's a new thing. It's new for mainstream. It's not new for poor communities. If you came out of the barrio or the ghetto or the trailer park, you knew it was hitting you already if you came out of those areas. But now it's every place. It's every place. Yes. So let's see here. She says, I don't recall anyone being prescribed meth. Yeah, I think what actually happens is once the prescription runs out is the issue, right? That's when they start rushing to that point. That's when they really start doing it. Jeff says, as far as the medication involved in the opioid crisis, that was a deliberate attempt by the pharmaceutical companies to create addicts. The studies show that they were only effective for about 8 hours. They told doctors that it was 12. So the result, they would inevitably up the patient's dosage, spot out of control. Oh, I didn't hear that. That's terrible. Wow. That's terrible. Thomas says, 100% during college days and senior from 98 to 2002. Thomas says, was everywhere. And then my friends passed with that master's or PhD work. Yes, absolutely. Scott says, I'm addicted to speed. Oh, I like that. Miles per hour. Nice. I like that. Jericho, a medical use forcibly declined. The number of overdose deaths more than doubled. I witnessed people being cut off. Oh, gotcha what you mean. Being cut off and not help with the dependence. The iron law. But yeah, thank you. Yes. Look, I am not at all trying. I'm not saying this is a perfect answer. Once someone's addicted, it's not great. My mom was an addict and it sucked. It was not great. And for those of you who had someone close to you, I know Glenn, obviously having someone close to you, it's not a good feeling when the addict picks the substance, whatever that substance is, over family, right? I was a teenager. My mom picked her drug over me. I was a teenager. How was I supposed to handle that? I couldn't handle that, right? How could I was nowhere near mature enough to deal with that. And I was an only child and my father died. And my mom basically abandoned me for a drug. I mean, you're not going to handle that well. You've got to be some kind of person to be able to handle that. And I think when people do it, it's so bad. And then the other part is you feel like a failure yourself, right? Why did mom have to go to drugs? What about me? Is it my fault? Was I not there for her? And part of it I wasn't. I was in the Marine Corps. And that was devastating. My father died. So people weren't there for her. That's true. So, of course, now you feel guilty on top of it. And now she can't get anymore. And before you know it, you're doing things you shouldn't be doing, Jericho, that you regret. Absolutely. Yes. Glenn says, yep, my dad tried to be clean, but he couldn't. He'd be clean for 2 months and then binge for 6 all the time. Yes. Sam says, Adderall similar to meth. It is similar. Yes, it's true. It's similar. Not exactly the same yet, but closely chemical related with similar effects. Yeah. Glenn says, alcohol is a gateway drug for most. I think that's true, right? And I think it's true, but I don't think it's because of the alcohol. This is my thought, Glenn, and you please tell me if you think I'm wrong here. I think it's a gateway drug because of the social aspect of drinking, right? Most people, when they begin drinking, don't drink alone. Sometimes you do if you become an addict, you become an alcoholic, you will then sometimes drink alone. But most people who drink, they don't start alone. They do it with friends or family or, at the game or whatever is the thing, right? With your friends at lunch or dinner, you tend to drink socially and you remember the warm, fuzzy feelings of being with friends and, doing the things that you like to do. And I think that goes to the next level. Then someone goes, well, how about this? Take this pill, do this so-and-so. And I think that's how that becomes a gateway drug. To be clear, Glenn, I have no data on this. This is just my personal opinion. I could be completely wrong. I feel like that's what it is. So yes. Benjamin says, I used to take Adderall for ADHD. It made me feel terrible. Cannabis would help with all the unwanted symptoms. Bingo. Bingo. Yes, absolutely. 100%. So, all right. Let's see if I can do this here. Logic says Sharpe for governor. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes. All right. Let's see if I can keep going down here. Jamie says, my opinion, jail the hardcore drug dealer, get medical help for addicts, probably cheaper to treat a drug addict than to jail them. Okay. Second part, yes, it's definitely demonstrably cheaper to treat a drug addict than to jail them. Absolutely. Jailing drug addicts is way expensive. There's so many costs and expense to that and problems and lawsuits and everything. Way cheaper to treat them if we can, 100%. I don't want to jail the hardcore drug dealer unless you're talking about pharmaceutical companies. Then yes, they're the hardcore drug dealer, right? I'm going to drug the violent one. And there's a difference. If you're saying hardcore being violent, yes, makes sense. If you're shooting people, hurting people, yes, these are crimes. Do not commit violence. But if you're just a guy on a corner who's pumping out a bunch of weed or even a bunch of drugs, whatever, a bunch of meth, you're not hurting people. They're coming to you. You're getting your money. Well, I won't want to jail you. I want to give you a safer drug. That's the whole point, right? The people who are doing violence, yes. The violence is a crime. Having a substance should not be a crime. Sadly, it is. Putting that substance in your body should not be a crime. Sadly, it is. So instead, if you're saying hardcore meaning violent, I agree. If you're saying hardcore meaning volume, I don't. Just make it safer. And then, because drugstores sell drugs, lots of them. They're the ones getting people addicted. Are we going to put them in jail? I mean, in theory, yes. But I wouldn't want to if anybody I'd want to put in jail, I go back to what Jeff said. There's executives who made decisions knowingly. Maybe we jail them because that was fraud. And fraud is a crime, right? Fraud's a crime. You can't have people taking medicine or drugs when you're lying to them about what's in that medicine or the effects of that medicine or that drug. If they know what it is, they take it, I got it. But if you're hiding stuff, that's fraud. That's a crime. Let's put them in jail. I'm in. Yes. 100%. So, all righty. Shelly says, brides and grooms are told to take Adderall to stay awake during a very long wedding day. I have heard that, Shelly. That's funny. You're like the third person that tells me that. That's really funny. Yes, absolutely. Jericho says, I could prescribe fentanyl, but couldn't prescribe. Okay, so if I say it right, Suboxone. Did I say it right? Suboxone as a nurse practitioner until 2016. Yes, nearly 10 years into the opioid crisis, another way government gets in the way, still need a special license for cannabis. Yes, thank you. Absolutely. Yes. Let's see if I can grab this here. Pete says, can't wait to make my debut in a Sharpe way. I hope you do. I hope you do. What is he talking about? I'll tell you what Pete's talking about. He's talking about the very special Sharpe Sign Challenge. Yes, some of you may have heard of this. If you do what I asked earlier, go to LarrySharpe.com, download, if you would, I would like if you would, download a petition, 2 of them, then sign the petition and or get someone else to sign a petition, whatever you do. Sign a petition is fine. Get someone to sign it. Get a signature. I don't care what you do. Get a signature of a registered New York State voter. Please, not anybody, a registered New York State voter. Witness it. Take a picture of it or a video of it. Post it someplace online. Hashtag Sharpe Sign with an E, obviously. Sharpe Sign, not sign with an E, Sharpe with an E, right? Sharpe Sign. And we will pick one winner every week. And 2 winners every week, 1 video and 1 picture. And of those 2 winners, they either can come on the Sharpe way or ask someone else to come on if they want to in their stead. Yes, challenge and nominate 2 more people. If you want to get in this race, do that and then nominate 2 people to do it also. And before you know it, you'll be a star. Pete thinks he's going to be a star. We'll see. Maybe. We'll see. I hope so. Yes. So the HTS Disciple says, where in New York City for I can sign a petition? It will be in Manhattan in the the cannabis parade. See if I get the actual place. Actually, what is it here? New York parade is at, if I can find it. Where are we here? Can I find it? Trying to find the actual spot. We are starting it in starting it on east side of Broadway between 32nd and 33rd Street. There we go. 11 a.m. Broadway between 32nd and 33rd Street. So there we go. I hope you can be, I hope to see you there. That would be awesome if I can see you there. Absolutely. So yes. Joel says, Larry, a teacher argued with me that your education program is all BS. She claims the Regents Board and the state constitution and nobody get rid of it. What's you plan to get rid of them? Yeah. She says it's all BS. That's what she'll say. If she says that, then she either doesn't understand what I'm saying or she's someone who just wants to be an administrator. Teachers love my education plan. Administrators don't, because a lot of them are going away. That's reality. The Board of Regents, a Regents Board, is garbage in New York State. Unnecessary. Should go away tomorrow. How do you do it? That's okay. Just get rid of everybody. Done. Give them no power. Get rid of them. I don't care. Get rid of them. I'm not paying attention to them. They don't have a police force. They're gone. Done. Don't use them. Ignore them. Change it. It's bad. If it was in the Constitution that everybody named Joel should lose all their money, I wouldn't take your money. So great. It's still not happening. So she's incorrect. It's a great plan. I know it's a great plan. The current system is absolute garbage. Our current education system in New York State is a steaming pile of shit. And I say that to anybody who asks. It's demonstrably so. We drop $28,000 per kid and usually rank in the bottom 50, the bottom 25, sorry, 50 states, the bottom 25. That's a steaming pile of garbage. And we just want more money. So we're going to spend more money on the kids and still doesn't work. So even if my plan is not as good as I say it is, it is. But say I'm wrong, Joel, and it's worse. It's not as good as I say. It's better than what we have now. That is for sure. The Regents Board has done nothing that's been great or awesome. Our education has gotten worse. So it's worse. I don't know. To say that is, you need to have a complete better answer than just that yours sucks. No, the current system is garbage. So if you have a better system, if she does, I hope she does, I'm open to hearing. And if it's better, literally, I will change my system and I will take her policy. If she has a better system, Joel, and you can tell her that, or him, sorry. She says she. So you can tell her that if she has a better system, I will literally take her policy. I'm not even joking. But for her to imagine that our current system is good is to live in a fantasy world or to just not care because you just want to make money off the system. So, but there's no way you can say we have a good system now. That is not realistic. You can't say that in good faith and knowledge. Hope that was clear. So, all right. Logic says the government isn't interested in curing anything. They'd rather treat the symptom rather than the illness, which includes addiction. Yes. Absolutely, yes. John Gold says, just put up your yard sign from last election. Guys, if you got yard signs from last time, you can put them right back out. Put them right back out. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Shelly says, crack was called the poor man's cocaine because it was. Because it was. Absolutely true. Yes. Steven says, I drink alone with nobody else. Some people do drink alone. And there was I remember years ago when I was in the Marine Corps, I was what they call the SACO, which was the Substance Abuse Control Officer. And they gave us like 6 or 8, I forgot the number, it's many years ago, 30 years ago. They gave us many lists of signs of someone being alcoholic. Drinking alone was one sign, but drinking alone is just one sign. Just because you drink alone doesn't mean you're an alcoholic. You might be. I don't know you, Stephen. It's possible, but that doesn't mean you are. But there are several, and I forgot. I got to remember some of them. One of them was, do you drink in the morning? If I remember right. I may be off on some of these. He's also from 30 years ago, so I'm not sure. Jericho will get mad at me if I get the wrong stuff, if I'm outdated. But I'm going to tell you what it was. So I don't know if it still exists, that I can remember. There were a bunch, but here's what I can remember. There was one was if you drink alone. One was if you drink in the morning. One was if you drink every day. Another one was if you ever drink till you black out. So if you had one of them, doesn't mean you're an alcoholic. But if you had many of them, you probably were. So Stephen, maybe you are. If you have a problem, brother, I hope you get it fixed. If you just like to drink alone, maybe not alcoholic. I hope if you have problems, you can fix them. You are just human, and we all have addictions and issues. So I hope you can. So yes. All righty. Let's see here. Glenn says yes because of the social aspect. That's what I think, Glenn. You're on the same side as me. Also, the feeling that you're invincible. So being trashed and taking that so-and-so is no big deal. Also true, particularly people who are younger. We all think when we're young, right? Nothing can stop us. We'll never die. We'll never get hurt. I think that's true. Yes. Paula says cigarettes used to be considered the number one gateway drug. Heard that in nursing school. Oh, interesting. Well, cigarettes also social, right? For a lot of people, right? You get together, you smoke together, talk, whatever, drink. I knew many people who I knew were friends of mine who used to only smoke when they drank. Like that was a trigger for them, right? They would start drinking and be talking to friends, and they'd start smoking. They would only smoke when they drank. So yeah, I think that social aspect kicked in. It's like, okay, now I'm being social. We're all smoking. We're all drinking. We're doing things together. I think yes. So Jeffrey says, by stigmatizing drugs and speaking about responsible use or non-use, it becomes attractive to teens who tend to want to rage against the authority. Also true. Yeah, I think it's also true. Right? The more you stigmatize and don't talk about it, the more that I think kids want to do it. Very true. Yeah. Chad says, spot on, Larry. Thank you. All right. I'm working. There we go. I'm doing something right, I guess, right? So, yes. It's pronounced Suboxone. Thank you, Chad. Suboxone. Thank you. I will now say it correctly. Suboxone. See, Jericho? Someone's helping me out there. Suboxone. There we go. Yes. So Scott says hair loss is also caused by magnesium deficiency. Man, this magnesium thing's a big deal. Okay, we should care about magnesium. I like it. I like that. I think that's amazing. All right, I want to touch a second thing that we talked about. I talked about the other one I asked was what was one of the biggest ways or most important way to fight corruption in New York State? And the answer you guys gave me was term limits. And that's a big issue. And let me explain term limits and where we've gone wrong and where we've gone right. Term limits are a good idea. 100% is true. That's where we've gone right. Here's where we've gone wrong. We focused it on the wrong people. Yes. We focused term limits on the executives. They're the ones that we need the least. I'm not joking. Why? Because there is evidence, demonstrable evidence, that we tend to vote out executives. We do that. I mean, think about our governors. Think about our presidents. We tend to vote them out, or they tend to walk away, or they go to jail. That also happens, right? That tends to happen. If you look at and for those who don't know this, there were no term limits until the 1950s, right? Before that, you could have as many. You can be president as long as you wanted to. FDR got 4. Is that right? He got elected 4 times. You could just stay, as long as you wanted. Term limits were a later thing they brought in, right? So think about since that time, who would have gone 3 terms? Maybe Reagan. He was popular, but he was getting older. He probably wouldn't have run. But maybe Obama. He was still popular, so maybe he would have gone. That's about it. So we might have gotten a 3rd term of Reagan or maybe a 3rd term of Obama. That's it. Is that the end of the world? Is that where the most corruption is being done? No. Most corruption is being done in Congress. So while I'm not against term limits for executives, they are a good idea. The problem is we focus them only on the executive, which the impact isn't that bad, right? It's not crazy if we got another 4 years as the president, or even New York State has none on the governor, and our governor got booted anyway. So it happens all the time. So it isn't the end of the world. Again, I am for term limits for executives, but not crazy. Like, that's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is legislators. That's the biggest issue. It's the second piece I'm adding on top of that. Think about this. Most people do not like Congress. They don't. Most people don't like, it's like 11% approval rate, very low. Yet over 90% keep getting reelected. Because of gerrymandering and a two-party system, we just keep the same people get elected again and again and again, again and again and again. It's very hard to get rid of them. Once in a while, you have a movement, like the Working Families Party on the left or the Tea Party on the right, and they'll knock some people out here or there. It does happen, but it isn't that common. It isn't that common. So they tend to stay in there. And as they stay in there, that's where the real corruption is, because that's where the money is voted on. That's where all the cronyism happens and all the jobs are given out. So there's actually more corruption at the legislation level. And I'll go one step further. What I call the permanent government, or what some people call the deep state, right? Whatever you want to call that, use the term you like. But the administrators who stay as others leave, they're the ones who still have power also. So if you really want to end that corruption, or at least we're not going to end corruption. If you really want to lessen corruption more than anything, term limits are a good idea. However, term limits are much better on legislators and staff. Larry, you're going to term limit staff? Yes, they're not elected and they have power. Term limit them. Yes. So you get to be whatever this thing in this agency for whatever 8 years or whatever is the appropriate term, right? Maybe it's less, maybe it's more. Yes, but there's one more thing we should have term limits on, and some people aren't happy about it right now. It's the Supreme Court. Of course we should. If you want to make a fair Supreme Court, what does this mean? You make a new, it probably has to be a constitutional amendment, but it's fine. Make an amendment, whatever is required. I assume it must be an amendment. As I think about federal, it has to be amendment, right? Where you just say there are going to be 9 justices. Each one has an 18-year term, 18 years. Now you now assign that now for the most senior all the way down, and every 2 years, a president gets to replace a justice every 2 years. That's it. A justice rotates out every 2 years. If a president just wins 4 years, they get 2 justices. If they win 4 years, they get. If they win twice, they get 4 justices. Well, that's how it works. Done. Easy day. Now, if a justice happens to pass away or something, then that would be an exception. Obviously, you could reboot and reshift after that, right? There'd be an earlier push or a later push to make sure that each president, every term, gets 2. That's it. You're never going to be able to replace the entire thing. You get 2 per term. So if people like you, you get 2 terms, you get to replace 4. No president gets to put 5 in. Right? That's fair, right? No president gets to put 5. You get to put 4. If your party keeps winning, well, then that's the country telling you something, and you get to replace a whole bunch of them. But that's how we should change that. There should be term limits, not just on executives. There should be, but more importantly, on legislators and on the permanent government staff or the deep state, definitely on that. And also judges too. They should all be term limited. Of course, you go in and then you get out. You do your 18 years if you're a judge, or your 8 years if you're president, or maybe your 12 years if you're a legislator, right? Maybe you do 12 years, so 2 Senate tours and 6 tours as a House rep. And that's it. You're out. Done. I think term limits will help tremendously. Now, doesn't mean it goes away. Now, there's still going to be people who go back and forth and who make connections and lobbyists and such. So you're going to have to get money out of politics too. And I'm going to give you the way you get money out of politics. This is what people think is nuts, but this is how you actually get it. First piece, of course, is the term limits. The second piece, how do you get money out of politics? First off, you do not accept the idea that corporations are people when it comes to politics. This concept is a terrible concept. There should be no such thing as a group that gives money to a candidate. Individuals should be able to give money to a candidate because individuals vote, right? So a police union or a teachers union or a PAC or a super PAC, these are groups. They should not be able to give money. The individuals in those groups can give whatever money they want to give. In fact, they want to, they can bundle their money together. But then each of them has to list We got together and got X dollars together, and then here are the names of the people who gave, and there's the money you want to give. Well, Larry, how much should we give? Whatever you want. What? Whatever you want. But Larry, if we let the rich people give whatever they want, they'll control the elections. They already do. What's wrong with you? That dystopian future is today. But Larry, there'll be more money in politics. There's more in politics now than there's ever been. Your dystopian future is today. The current system is garbage. So how can mine be any worse? But then, Larry, they'll just write checks and win. Really? Ask President Bloomberg if that's true. Oh, you can't because he's not president, even though he literally wrote a check for $500 million and he couldn't become president. So yeah, that's demonstrably false, a fantasy, not true. Right? And when Trump won last time, he was outspent by Hillary. I don't know what you're talking about. That idea of did money run stuff? It already does. Only rich people will win. First up, they already do win because everyone who runs is freaking rich, so they already do win. But the richest guy won't win. If that's true, I guess we have President Bezos. Where's he? I don't see President Bezos. I don't see President Bloomberg. I don't even see Governor Musk. Nothing. None of that. So that's a fantasy. But they'll have undue influence. They do now. Why? Because the money is hidden. But what if it wasn't? What if you give whatever you want, but it's transparent? Meaning that if Elon Musk or Michael Bloomberg or whomever want to give $10 million to some candidate, Joe Biden or Donald Trump or whomever, Larry Sharpe, or whomever, they want to write a big check, they can. But it is literally, everybody knows, Elon Musk is behind whatever, Andrew Yang, and he gave him $10 million, whatever. Fine, we all see it and know it. But Larry, will that matter? Yes. Yes. Again, if it doesn't matter, why don't you ask President Bloomberg? You can't. When it is transparent, we react. When it's this is his money and it's given to you by the people who love Larry Sharpe. Who the hell are those people? I don't know. It wasn't for that. It's this rich guy who loves me, right? Maybe Elon Musk was writing me a check for $10 million. Hopefully he does. But the point is, if you actually made it transparent and let people give whatever they want, it would actually be fairer. Why? Because they've made more campaign finance rules than ever before. And who is punished by it? Guys like me. Guys who don't have all the money and time and energy to have lawyers on staff to go through everything. So someone gives me money and they fine me because, someone who shouldn't have given me money gave me money, so now I get fined, or I didn't write it the right way, so I get fined, or someone gave me too much money, or I get fined. So I get fined for this, and that fine for me is devastating. But when I'm some heavy hitter who brings in $40 million, first of all, I don't get fined because I have lawyers. But even if I do get fined, I get fined $1,000. Whatever. I made $40 million. What happens when you only make $500,000? Lose $1,000. That's a big chunk of a fine. That hurts me tremendously. I'm hurt way more. Way more. But with something else, though, I have to hustle to get every dollar. Imagine if I could find it. Imagine if Elon Musk did think, Larry, I love you libertarians. Let me give you $10 million. Wow, I could actually have a chance at fighting on the same level as everybody else. What? You just level the playing field. You just level the playing field. Now people can see me, the whole deal. I'm not sitting there saying, guys, go to my website, volunteer, buy a t-shirt. I don't have to worry about that anymore. So you want to make things fair? No companies, no organizations, individuals only, whatever they want, transparent. You will watch money leave. You will watch money leave politics. Because the more you regulate it, the more there's regulatory capture. That's just how it works. So I hope that answered all the questions on those topics. Let me grab a couple more. All right, hold on. Luke says, what will you do to keep the church and state separate? That's a very, how do I answer that? I'm not sure. That's a very open-ended question. I do think they should be separate. I do think the First Amendment's very important. Absolutely. So that gives you a freedom of religion. You should do what you need to do. Is this, are you saying because, is this because of abortion? Is this because of medical mandates? I'm not sure what you mean by this. In New York State, the abortion issue, the church is irrelevant because New York State has just made it to where in New York State, there is no real attack on abortion rights. if anything, there's a push the opposite way to just our recent laws have been very. I'm surprised how liberal our abortion laws are in New York State, but just anything goes basically. So I don't think that's an issue. If it's mandates you're concerned about for New York State, then of course religious exemptions are the one exemption you should not ever be able to get rid of is the religious exemption. It's in our First Amendment. You get to practice religion as you see fit, and if that means that the government can't stop you from doing a certain thing, or unless you're hurting somebody else, obviously, right? So, like if your religion requires ritual sacrifice, then that's a problem because you're hurting someone else. But as long as you're not hurting someone else, why would I care? I hope that answers your question. It's a vague question. I don't know if I answered it correctly. So yes. Glenn says not established an organized religion, I would assume. There is one. It's called statism. Ooh, some of you like that one. But yes, no, you're actually correct. Yes. Glenn also goes on to, yes, the steaming pile of shit reference. 100%. Yes. John says, just so a school district near me is thinking about cutting arts to make the budget work. Commented that one administrator. Yeah. Let's cut art because we need to make sure administrators get paid more. Yes. No, I don't get that. Yes. Scott says, what the F is a Regents Board? It is a useless board in New York State that controls our education. It's basically the equivalent of our Department of Education. It's useless. It should go away. It's terrible. Yes, absolutely. John responds to this. A Regents diploma is about as useful as a car with no engine. Actually, a car with no engine is more useful because you could sell some of the other parts. So it's actually more useful. Absolutely. Yes. 100%. So, all right. Let's see here. John says, also, as I still have my old sign, we'll be setting another location and keep the new sign. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Yes. All right. Let's see here. Pete says, I saved all my lawn signs that didn't get destroyed by the Republican mob in upstate. That's true. You know, that's the funny part. In New York, for those of you who don't know, New York is obviously a very left-leaning state. We're almost 3-1 Democrat Republican in New York State. So you would think that the Democrats would be mad at me for running. No, Republicans are. The Republicans in my state, I don't mean to be mean if you're a Republican in New York State right now. I'm just being forward with you, as I always should be forward. You're not going to win the governorship. It is literally impossible. You can say to me, well, Larry, you can win? Okay, my odds are small, no doubt, but they're not impossible. My odds are higher than your odds are if you're a Republican. I'm not joking. 3-1 Democrat Republican. Republicans hate Democrats. Democrats hate Republicans. No matter what the Democrat does, if the Democrat's terrible and unhappy, and she is, and does bad things, the Democrats in New York State will do one of three things. 1, they will stay home. 2, they will hold their nose and vote for her anyway. Or 3, they will vote for me. They're not voting Republican. They hate Republicans. Democrats hate Republicans. Republicans hate Democrats. That's how it works in my state. If you live here, you know what I'm talking about. They're not voting for the Republican. There's not enough Republicans. They all moved to Florida and Texas. They're all gone. They're not here anymore. They've already moved. Not going to happen. If enough of them vote for me, then I win. That's how the game is played. So that's it. And Republicans stop stealing lawn signs and get smart, and they vote for me. I win. But they keep voting Republican when they should stop. And they get mad because they know their candidate is nowhere near as smart as I am or as good looking as I am and has no ideas. So they don't like that. So when they can't get another candidate, and they would never debate me because they'd be embarrassed. So they steal lawn signs because that'll teach Larry Sharpe. That's actually a thing. I wish that wasn't. Yes. So Joel says, thanks for that answer on education. I challenge the teacher to attend one of your events and ask you any questions, and you will answer. 100% true. I will answer any question. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. So Jericho says, I can never get mad at Larry. Thank you. Thank you. But, I try to be good. Yes. Got you. So, I drink. Thank you, Stephen. I'm sorry. I didn't get it. See, I didn't get it. Stephen was teasing me. I drink alone, George Thorogood and Destroyers. Yeah. Yes. Yes. I didn't get it. Sometimes people actually do ask for help or say things or make comments on the streamline. I never want to. If I'm unsure, I never want to joke in case somebody's actually hurting. If that makes any sense, Stephen. So if I'm unsure, I will take what they're saying seriously because I don't know. Are they teasing and joking, or is there some pain there? And if there's some pain there, the last thing I want to do is make more pain, right? I don't want to make their pain worse. So maybe I can't help, but I don't want to hurt and make it worse. So I tend to err on the side of someone might actually be hurting in some way. So thank you for the joke. All good. I just, where I'm coming from. Yes. So Kylo Ren, thank you, Kylo, says trade school needs to be integrated into high school to stop wasting our youth time. I agree. That is literally my K through 10 program, which gets kids at 16 off to either trade schools, prep schools, or associates programs right away. It preps them for their 18 years old, right? If they think they're a kid who wants to go to college, you want to be a lawyer, you want to be a doctor, or whatever the case may be, licensed by the state for some reason, go into a prep school so you're ready for the hardcore of college days. Or if you're really super smart, you're a great test taker, you're awesome at all those things, go right to an associate's degree. If you're not in either of those, then I think instead you could just go to a trade school or go get a job, right? Imagine if you went to a trade school when you're 16. When you're 18, you either are ready to go to work, licensed, depending upon what trade you're in, or you're ready to go on apprenticeship. It depends. Some need more apprenticeships, some don't, depending on what trade you go into. But you're ready to rock and roll either way. Make some money. I like that. So, yes. Eric says, go to the 2-form petition drive. See, he's got the link right there. He says, I'm with Larry on education and drug policy 100%. He's the only New York governor candidate, hell, one of the only U.S. politicians I've seen building bridges and posting actual solutions. Eric is right. Listen to him. Let's sign the petition to get him on the ballot. First New York, then USA, maybe even Mars at some point. I will become president of the Galactic Empire, of course. And if I do become leader of the Galactic Empire, the first thing I'll do is, localization to your own solar system. See, I'll begin breaking down the Galactic Empire into solar systems. Then we'll go down the planet. We'll come on down. Might take a couple years. Hopefully, don't have too many term limits on Galactic Emperor. We'll see. So I can actually bring the process down. We'll see how it works. We can have a libertarian Galactic Empire. We can. Of course we can. Yes. Glenn says legislators and judges. Bingo. Yes, absolutely. Joe says sign destruction was rampant in the past few elections. I know it's so petty. And then they don't even get helped, right? It's just so petty. Shelley says, did New York just get in trouble for gerrymandering? Yes. Again, if you're listening and you don't know what's happening in New York just redid its congressional districts. And a judge said, no, they're gerrymandered. They're not valid. And they got rid of them. We might go, well, it's okay. We'll go back to the old ones. We can't. New York State's been such a bad state for so long, we've lost population. So we've actually lost a congressional district. So we used to have 27. Now we have 26. So with 27 congressional districts, that's the old map. So the old map doesn't work either. At this moment in time, New York State has no congressional districts. Yes, and we're petitioning. So how are you going to petition for your congressional district if you don't know your congressional district? There's a rule for governor, too, petitioning. You have to have a certain amount in all districts. How can you do that if you don't have any districts? Yeah, that's how broken my state is. That's how bad we are. Literally impossible to follow the law. And they'll still be mad at you anyway. They'll punish you anyway. 100%. So, yes. There we go. Let's see here. Lisa says, my issue with term limits is if people are good, efficient, and popular, why get rid of them? Well, there's a way of getting around that, Lisa. And that is you allow them to come back. They have to take a break. So maybe it's 4 years, right? You can come back from the 8 after, you can do 8 years. You can come back from the 8 after a 4-year break, right? I may be great, but there may be somebody better than me, right? I mean, come on, not really, but in theory, at least, it could be somebody better than me, Lisa, in theory, right? So there could be somebody better. I'm sure anyway. Look, no matter how good we all are, at one point, we're not the best anymore, right? You can't be king of the hill, queen of the mountain forever, right? So even if I am a great governor, do 8 years, put somebody else in. Is that person good? Maybe it's good that I'm gone. If that person not so good, maybe we want Larry back. So if you feel that, I'm okay with the idea of taking a X time period of break and then trying again. I'm okay with that idea. If people want that, but I think we have to have at least new blood in there, changing things up. We have to. But if we want to rotate, the world's not going to end. I think some people who believe the way you think want to have that, I'm okay with that idea. If people want to do that, I am. So, yes. All right. Let's see here. See if I can go through here. Sam says, love constitutional carry. I do too. Right. The issue is, Sam, as you know, in New York, really people just don't. Most New Yorkers still want more gun control. They think we don't have enough gun laws. It's a challenge to get people to just have them leave people alone. That's my number one issue first, and then move towards this. I think that this, I hope, is the future. I'm not sure if it's tomorrow, though, if that makes any sense. We have to move towards it 100%. So, yes. All right. Sam continues, amen. Corporations are people is one of the worst Supreme Court decisions. Yes, yes, and yes. Terrible. Correct. Yes. He continues, corporations are made by pen. Humans are made by God. Look at that. I'm so stealing that, Sam. I might give you credit. Probably not, but I like that. Corporations are made by pen. Humans are made by God. That's a good one. I like that. Yes. Shelley agrees. She says, get rid of super PACs. Absolutely. Steve says, spot on, Larry. Bureaucrats should definitely be term limited. I agree. Government was never meant to be a career path. It should be public service and a resume enhancer. They'll never allow it. But I agree. That's what it should be, right? You're totally right. It should be a resume enhancer, not a resume, right? Not a career. I agree. Yes. And it should be public service. We have in this country for sure forgotten that. We have forgotten that working for the government is supposed to be public service. Now, there is one group of people who kind of still get that. Military, they get that, right? Firefighters to a certain degree also get that because many of them are also volunteers. But, right, they really get that, right? They get that it's service, not that it's, well, it's my career path and now you owe me. You don't get as much of that in those two areas. So, yes, thank you. So, Convention of States movement is very in favor of term limits. Chip, I say this often. When I first heard about the Convention of States movement, probably 6 years ago, maybe more in that area, I was against it. I was like, this is a bad idea. Don't do this. No way. You're going to see. They're going to turn America communist. That's all I thought. Since then, I've changed my mind. I've been convinced. But I came around about 2018, 2017 is when I was like, no, this is a good idea. So I am for the Convention of States. I was not initially. I was scared, which is why I understand when people get scared of it. Like, I understand their fear because I had the same fear. So I get why people get scared, but absolutely, I think you're right. It's a good move. It's a good move. I am for it. I came around 2017, 2018 is when I came around. I'm now on board. But it's scary though, right? That the feeling that you would change the Constitution and that we wind up being the Soviet Union, right? That is a fear. But I still think there's no other way, in my view. I mean, unless we get an amazing presidential candidate who can really gain traction to become so popular that we can, get our message out. I feel like this is the only way we can get a message out to enough people that makes any sense. So, yes. Thank you for that, by the way. Yes. All right. Let's see here. Hold on. Okay. Thomas says, tuning in a little late. It's not too late to like, comment, share. You're right, Thomas. As you will hear me say often, like, comment, share always helps. Please do so. But something else, my sponsor, when you have a moment, if you know someone like that teacher that we were talking about earlier, she doesn't understand what libertarianism is about. Ask her, will you go over to libertarianism.com? Click that link right there. Go check it out. There's videos there, little tests you could take there. There's cool swag also there too if you want to get some cool swag. You don't have to buy it if you don't want to. You can just take the little tests, watch the videos, be able to talk about libertarianism a little bit. And when you do that, you get enough points. You get points, and then you could get the swag for free. If you like the swag, go buy it. It's great, but you don't have to. You can take the test and do it. Please share it. If you've taken these tests, awesome. Share it anyway. Let people know. Tell people to go. Why do I pump this? Why do I have them as a sponsor versus other people who want to be a sponsor of my show? Because I believe in this. That's the reason. Because I spend my time talking to many people, trying to get them to understand that liberty is the way. It is the only way. It's not perfect. There will be problems and issues in any system. But as long as we're leaning towards liberty, we're going to have a better outcome than not, right? That's my 100% view. I believe that truly in my bones. I believe that. So how do I get from me to someplace else? Libertarianism.com. Send somebody there. Have them look at it. It's not only about, and it's not that I'm against you guys who are like hardcore Hayek or hardcore Mises or hardcore whatever. Not against you guys being that way. That's great. But let's get people to lightly go to libertarians.com. And then when they want to go, then they can go deeper, right? Let them go to Bastiat after that, right? They can go down those rabbit holes. It's fine. But let's not lead with that. Let's lead with this. And then I'm like, this seems interesting. Have anything else? As a matter of fact, I do. Have you heard of Bastiat? Boom. Now you can keep going. So that's why I like it so much. Please, if you can, go there. If you're saying, Larry, I don't want their merch. I want your merch. Hey, head over to larryshop.com/shop. You can get it. You can get it. You can get a t-shirt. You can get a hoodie. You can get a mug, bumper sticker, yard sign, whatever you want. I know some of you are going to say, Larry, some of the stuff on the pages look expensive. Yes. It's to support the campaign. So you can do one or two things. You can say, Larry, I love you. I want to give you $20. Give me $20. Thank you. That's larryshop.com/donate. I would like every dollar you can give. I need it so I can get petitioners, so I advertise, right? I need the cash to move the campaign forward. So I love that. But if you go, Larry, I'd love to give you $20, but I'd like something for it. Then don't give me 20, give me 30 and buy a shirt. I'll still get 20 and you'll get a shirt. See? So that's what the shop is for. Yes, it's a bit more expensive, but the campaign's still getting the money. You're just getting something. I would like you to have the shirt, but I also need to have the cash so I can move the campaign forward. So any of those will work 100%. Please do whatever you can. Thomas, you are correct. Thank you for helping out. Yes. All right. Let's see if I can go down here. So Glenn says, Zeldin once gushed that Cuomo will make a good president back in 2011, I believe. I don't doubt that at all. I don't doubt that at all. Yes. He doesn't have any plans either. Sorry. I appreciate that. Yes. So Mike says, Larry will be president of the Federation, not the Empire. Ooh, I like that. Yes. See? The Federation. That's correct. Well, they probably called the Empire until I got it. Then I would change the name. Absolutely. Then I would change the name. Absolutely, I would. I change the name. So, yes. So, John says, smash that like button. Yes, that's correct. Absolutely. Yes. Steven says, 9-issue man, I love you, Larry. I wish I had a candidate like you in my state. Thank you. I appreciate that. Absolutely. That's so nice to say. Yes. Sam says, Obi-Wan Sharpe is our only hope. Thank you. Yes. So, real name Hinton says, I endorse Lee Zeldin because libertarians don't have a chance to beat Kathy Hochul. As I said before, and I'll say it again, you think he does? It's a serious issue. Do you think he does? You think that he actually has a chance? None. Literally. Lee Zeldin was Trump's lawyer. Lee Zeldin voted against the Marriage Equality Act in New York State. Lee Zeldin voted to not validate the 2020 election. This is New York State. This is in Oklahoma. In Oklahoma, that guy's governor. South Carolina, that guy's governor. New York State, everyone who would have supported him has already moved to Florida, man. No chance. Zero. No chance. So the idea you would even say libertarians have no chance of beating Kathy Hochul, so you endorse Lee Zeldin? I have a better chance of winning than him. Yes. Because if his people get smart, like you, and vote for me, and if her people get pissed off, vote for me, I can win this thing with 35%. New York State is a plurality state, not a majority state. So all I need is 35% of the vote. I win. That could happen. What's going to happen with him? It doesn't matter what happens to him. Democrats aren't voting for him. Kathy Hochul already has a lieutenant governor going to jail, and she's still beating Zeldin. She just went through the worst possible 2 years in New York State. She's still beating Zeldin. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. She's been firing people for not getting a job. She's still beating Zeldin. 3-1, Democrat to Republican, my friend. Know what state you live in. I'm happy that you watch the show. Please keep watching. But the idea to endorse any Republican in a statewide election is fantasy. Now, locally, Republicans win in New York State. Locally, often they win. Most of New York State, by county, is actually Republican. So Republicans win locally all the time. Statewide, all the cities vote blue. Buffalo votes blue. Rochester votes blue. Albany votes blue. Ithaca votes blue. New York City, of course, votes blue, right? They all vote blue. And they're the mass population. Fantasy, my friend. Fantasy. Yes, absolutely. So, yes. Renam says, politicians against big tech are taking questions using big tech. Answer your voters, Larry. Stop being a stranger. Dude, I do a show where I take live stuff every day. Okay, you're just making stuff up now. Now you're trying to trigger me. I'm not getting triggered. I'm not getting triggered. Yeah. Come on, man. To even imagine, I go to events unscripted and take questions. I do hundreds of events all the time. I've been at Long Island twice already. You just missed me. You can just check my events. I've been in Long Island twice already, just this year. Already twice this year I've been out. So, yeah, I'm just saying. That's all. So, yes. So, if you have a question, ask the question. I will give you an answer. You never see me dodge a question ever. So, yes. All right. Let's see here. Grab a couple more. Brian says Zeldin's an establishment pick. That's the first one. He's not for the people. Also true. Yes. Dave says, Larry, Democrats, Republicans don't have to worry about districts. They don't need primaries because they're recognized private political parties. They can nominate candidates by convention. Very true. Yes. Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay. What do you mean I'm offended? What are you talking about? I answer people on Facebook and also on YouTube. I know what you're talking about. All right. Anyway, I'll be coming to Suffolk County. I always do. Stop talking your trash, real name hidden, and come out and talk to me and answer a question now. Put up a question right now. I'll answer it, or show up then. You're just talking trash, man. I'm happy to talk to you. I will answer. What is your question? I will answer that. Did I miss your question? Is that why you're mad? Because did I miss? Let me see. I get tons of questions and comments come in. Perhaps I missed your question. It's possible I have. Let me see. If I have missed it, I apologize. I have not seen a question from you. Let me see if I can go through and grab a couple. There's so many coming at me. Let me see if I can grab it, because I'll try to make you happy. I do not want to. I'm trying to show people that I'm not afraid to deal with anybody. I will try to. And I don't see your question. If you put it back out again, ask your question again. And I will look for it now. I'll watch for it, and I'll see if I can find it. All right. Is it here? All right. Answer. How are you going to beat Kooky Kathy? Is that your question? All right. I already answered that question, but I'll answer it again for you. If Kathy Hochul makes another big mistake, hopefully she will. She's been doing it. Eventually, her people are going to be sick of her. When they're sick of her, they will do one of three things. And this is already seen how it works. They will either stay home, option number one. Number two, they will hold their nose and vote for her anyway because they're Democrats, and they'll vote for the Democrat no matter what. Or number three, they will come to me. How do I know that? Am I just saying that? No, I already know. The data is in from last time I ran, and you can see in the recent polling, about 25% of the people who vote for me are registered Democrats. So 1 in 4 people who vote for me is a registered Democrat. The more she gets, the people pissed off already are voting for me. When you add me into the mix, the Republican and Democrat both lose votes. So I take from both sides. Again, that's demonstrable. The data is in. We saw that in 2018 and recent polling. You can do your own homework if you care. I don't know if you care or not, but if you do care, you can just check it. It's there. You can just look at the Zogby polls. It's right there. So that already happens. If I can make that number go from 25 to say 35 or 40%, that's how I win. And hopefully people who are Republicans realize their guy has no chance of winning, and then they'll also vote for me. That is how I beat Kathy. That is the answer. That's how I do it. How does Lee Zeldin beat Kathy? Magic powers. That's it. Literally, magic powers. Kathy could literally, I don't know, go into a coma in October. He'll still lose. Because they will either do one of three things. Stay home, hold the nose vote anyway, or vote for me. Those are the only three options. They're not going to vote for the Republican. To be clear, a Republican has not won a statewide election in New York State in 20 years. And the state's getting bluer, not redder. The red people are leaving. They've been leaving for years. You know lots who've left. Yes, you do. You live on Long Island. You know lots who've left. So it's obvious it's going to happen. So I hope I at least answered your question. So yes. All righty. Let's see here. Juan says, while gathering signatures, many people don't understand why you are running as independent. This gets us into discussion on how Democrats change the rules to get libertarians off the ballot and make it extremely difficult for third parties to run in New York. Yes, very true. Yes. All right. Steven says, Boomer Zeldin voters always browbeat me for voting for you. He'll never win. Zeldin's better than Hochul. I'm not in this for the better candidate. I'm here for the best candidate, Larry's Rockstar. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes. Joel says, I ordered some car magnets. Thank you, my friend. I could use them. Absolutely. Yes, I could use them. Thank you. So, all right. Steven says, I can't believe how corrupt your state is. It amazes me. And I'm in Vegas. I know. We really, yeah. Yes, absolutely. Brian says, people haven't done the math. Larry keeps spelling it out. I try to. Yes, I do. Yes. Grace says, thank you for explaining why the GOP cannot win governor of New York. It is impossible. Yes. 100%. 100%. Yes. It's impossible. Jericho says, Kathy Hochul could shoot her assistant on live TV, and given the choice between her and Zeldin, Democrats would vote Hochul. Or they'll stay home, right? Or they won't be motivated. But the thing that's hurt Republicans more now in this state, and any either blue state or even purplish state, is with the recent SCOTUS debacle. It's not a ruling, it's just a sheet of paper. Who knows if that'll be the ruling? I think the odds are high that will be the ruling, but we don't know yet. It's just a piece of paper right now that someone saw. But I mean, what gets Democrats out is something to unite them. Otherwise, in states like New York, they're not motivated. They go back to lunch. They go back to brunch. They're not running out doing stuff. They're like, whatever, we got this. We're fine. We're Democrats. It's New York State. We're good. But when they thought Trump was going to come eat your babies or whatever the Trump thing was, man, they rushed out, right? They're like, oh my God, we got to stop Trump. He's the evilest guy in the world. They rushed out in droves. Of course, in New York State, they did. Now, this is going to become, if it isn't already, it's the anti-woman. Everybody all hate women. And they're going to rush out in droves again. So a lot of Democrats going to be voting this year. Let's hope most of them are voting for me. That's my hope. Yes. Grace said Zeldin constituents all moved to Palm Beach. Also true. Yes. Also true. Yes. So Joel says his real name hidden actually Lee Zeldin. I don't think so. I don't think Lee watches my show. Because he takes none of my ideas. So I don't think anyone I don't think anyone who is in his camp watches my show because they don't steal my ideas. You think they would. So yeah. 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 Thomas says, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Larry's on all three every week. Correct. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Rhetoric says, I've been into politics since about 2007. I've never seen a more hands-on interactive politician than Larry Sharpe. It isn't even remotely close. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Yes. Oh, that's right, Sam. Thank you, Sam. Yes. If by some miracle Cuomo gets right back in and runs again, man, I know it sounds crazy to say, but you're right, Sam. If Cuomo came to run, oh, that'd be great. If he comes and runs, it'll split the Kathy Hochul vote. I'm in. Oh my God, that'd be amazing. And you might say, well, no one likes Cuomo. No. People like Cuomo still. And I'll give you a very interesting story. There's a woman who, when I was on Staten Island getting signatures, she actually likes Cuomo. It's a woman too. That you would think, wow, woman. Yes. She's like, I like Cuomo. I think he talks about the right stuff. I like him, whatever. And she's getting signatures from me. So yes, this literally is my point. If they don't like Hochul, and she doesn't, she actually prefers Cuomo. I know some of your heads are going to explode, but this is New York State. She prefers Cuomo, and that's fine. That's who she prefers. She can't have Cuomo. She's stuck with Kathy. She doesn't like Kathy. She's getting my signatures. She's voting for me. That's my point. She's not going to vote for Lee Zeldin. She's a Democrat. She's not voting for Lee Zeldin. Not going to happen. She's voting for me instead. So yes, that is an anecdote from the data that you can actually find. So there's both anecdotes and data. Another example I gave from last summer when I was working the fair, and some of you who are here might be watching might have gone to that fair, New York State Fair. A woman comes to me, same thing, and she tells me when I start chatting with her, I'm working the libertarian booth. She says, Yes, being hands-on, to Rederick's point. I'm literally working the booth, shaking hands, talking to people. So she comes over and goes, Larry, I know who you are, but I really liked Cuomo. I said, you did? Why? And she said to me, she's very open, which is basically the same thing that the other woman in Staten Island told me. She goes, he talked about the important issues. And you know what I told her? I said, you know what? You're right. He did. He absolutely talked about the important issues. That's true. My worry is he did so much that's hypocritical to those issues that he actually did more harm than good. And she was like, you're probably right. And she signed my petition. I did some petition. Sorry. She signed up to get the email, the Libertarian Party of New York email. We weren't petitioning then. This was last summer to get the email. So again, anecdotal evidence that Democrats who are unhappy will vote for me. The data is in. They're not voting Zeldin. That's a fantasy. So yes, there we go. All right. New York City wouldn't vote for a Republican if they were Black, a woman, and LGBT. Let me give you a quick story on this. Some of you may have heard a story about a friend of mine. I don't want to say his name because I'm going to get him in trouble. But a friend of mine, someone who I like, who is a Republican in New York. Yes, there are some in New York City. There are still some. They do exist. There are some in New York City. Literally went to federal prison because he had a plan. He was helping plan to get a Black Democrat in New York City to switch parties to become Republican and run for mayor against de Blasio. This is a true story. This was going to happen several years ago. And they were so scared that would happen that literally the feds came in, did a bogus, and I'm saying I know the case very well. It was a bogus BS setup, total, FBI foils FBI case, total entrapment, the whole deal, set him up, put him in prison. Both him and the candidate went to prison, federal prison. Yes. They were like, no, you can't do that. So not only wouldn't they vote for Republican if he were Black, they'll make sure they won't. That's a true story. Anyway, yes. All right, grab a couple more if I can. Let's see here. Chad says he's going off the exit polling from last time. Yes, he does pull from both sides, but you are correct about the vast majority just wouldn't vote. Yeah, I think a lot wouldn't vote. Some would not vote. That's true. But again, if they don't vote, that brings Democrat numbers down, my numbers up, and it's a percentage, right? So if I get 35% in a three-way race, 35% wins. So that's really the issue. Yes, and not just that. There's recent polling from this year, from early this year, also showing the same thing. Be getting about 25% registered Democrats. So yes, in that area is what I see. It's about 25%. I've got to get it more than that. That's the issue. So Team Record says, hey, Larry, any plans to help our corrections officers? Seems the inmates have far more rights than we do, and officers are being forced to resign or leave on their own accord. They're tired of it. Yes and yes. And a lot of people, what bothered me about last time is I was the only candidate who actually visited prisons. A couple of them. I visited a couple of them. And I shook hands with COs. Why is that personal for me? Because my father was a CO. He was a CO at Rikers Island. So, of course, I have a connection to that, right? Because of my father. So, of course, I do. And I actually said, and for those who don't know, the corrections officers across the state are not treated well at all. I mean, they're treated terribly. The state employees literally went, is it 3 years? You'll correct me. I think it's 3 years without a contract. They took zeros every year for raises for 3 years in a row. And the biggest issue is Cuomo wanted to make sure he could have what I call the punishment clause. He wanted to make sure that whenever things go wrong, he can keep punishing corrections officers. Now, don't get me wrong. Are there bad corrections officers? Of course there are. There's bad everything, right? So of course there are bad corrections officers. Of course there are. But the way they're treated, they're all bad and the inmates are perfect. Okay, that I'm sure is not true. If I got to guess, if you're an inmate, the percentage of bad inmates committed corrections officers is going to be a whole lot higher. They're literally convicts. So there's going to be a higher percentage of bad guys in that population compared to the corrections officer population. I mean, you don't have to have a degree in psychology to figure that one out, right? But we do not treat them well. There's some stats, and I'll give you some anecdotes. Stats on corrections officers in New York State. The average corrections officer, their life expectancy is under 60. Yes, under 60 is their life expectancy. That's how bad it is. Suicide's huge among corrections officers. Every correctional officer I've met, everyone knows someone who committed suicide. They know someone who committed suicide. Everyone. And something else you'll find while their time is so bad. Every single correctional officer I know knows exactly when they're going to retire. Always. Some to the day. Some, I'm not joking, some to the day, but all to the year and month. So when you're retiring, 10 years, 4 months. Some will go 10 years, 4 months, 35 days, whatever. Like they know everything. They all know that. This is the world they're in. So what I said the whole time is, I would sign your contract without the punishment clause because I don't want to punish corrections officers. I want the reverse. I want prison reform with help from the corrections officers. What you will hear me say 1,000 times, and I'll keep saying it. Here's what I'm sure of. There are people in prison who should probably never leave prison ever. And there are people in prison who should do their time, get out, and have a full second chance at life with all the benefits as anybody else. Do your time, go back to life. And there are people who shouldn't be in prison at all. The problem is, I don't know which ones are which. You know who probably does know? The people who work with them every day, which would be the corrections officers. So why aren't we using them? And we don't. And again, this is kind of a niche issue, but I spent some time on it because it matters to me. So for those who don't know, what New York State does is they don't actually try to fix things with corrections officers. Usually they ignore them. So they get some plan from out of state or some psychiatrist and this new plan and go, we're putting this new plan in. And the corrections officers go, what? You didn't tell us. It doesn't matter. We're doing this. Here's your new thing to do. Then it doesn't work because they didn't ask the correction officers. Then they blame the correction officers. That's the normal thing. Now, I'll give you an example. One of the examples was they wanted to put, give the prisoners iPads. And you might immediately say, why? That's so dumb. Why are we giving prisoners iPads? Well, sometimes you do want to give prisoners things. Why? Because you want to be able to use it as a way of taking it away if they don't do the right thing, right? So if they have no benefits, if they have no privileges, then you have no tool to keep them in line. So you might want to give them iPads, depending upon your prison or your jail. You might want to give them iPads so you can use them as a tool for good behavior, right? I'm not against the concept. What I'm against is they didn't ask the corrections officers how to do it in their own prisons. In some prisons, you might want to give it to them directly. In some prisons, you might want to make sure it's only in a public area. In some, the COs know who to deal with and how to deal with them. And they would have been able to give us a better answer on how to use this tool. Many COs were okay with it. And some were like, this is a bad idea. We didn't even ask them. So what I want to do is allow corrections officers to be part of the solution. That's the most important piece. We do that, we'll change how it works. I would like corrections officers to not just be, and the problem is right now, most corrections officers are just prison guards, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But I'd like them to also be able to be corrections officers, and many of them aren't. We should have those who just want to be, that's fine. But we also need some to be able to be actual corrections officers, to go home and not be like, damn, I'm so glad I'm gone. But instead of being like, I did some good today. Not I'm just stuck filling out more paperwork and be treated like garbage. And every time something goes wrong, it's my fault. That's what corrections officers right now in New York State deal with. The thing you don't realize, if you're a corrections officer, it's a prison. You don't shut down the prison ever. So during COVID and your relief is sick with COVID, you're staying. Well, I got plans. Not no more. Well, I got a family. I don't care. Well, I was going to school. Not tonight. Too bad. Well, I'm tired. Guess you're going to be tired then. So you're literally going to do 8 and another 8 because the prison doesn't shut down. You're not going to send the prisoners home. So all these things that happen in a prison that happen outside, these guys are done. They've got to stay. You don't have enough bodies. You're staying 2-3 shifts. I guess you are. So now I got to put a guy in that shift for 2 or 3 or 4 shifts, more than he should have in a week, right? And then don't let him make a mistake even though he's tired. Don't let him screw up even though he's literally exhausted. The prisoners are sleeping. He's not. Prisoners, they're ready to bright-eyed, bushy tail, ready to go. How about you? So yeah, I get what you're saying completely. And I was the only one who even talked about this. For those of you who are watching the campaign, no one else talked about it. I was the only one. I was very disappointed at how many correctional officers just did not vote for me when I was the only one who had their back. I still do, though. I'm even if you don't vote for me, I still got your back. It doesn't change. I still feel the way I feel. And prison reform is important. It just can't be only prisoners. It's also corrections officers. They're the ones who have to be part of it, and they're not. So I went a bit long. It's a personal thing. Thank you, brother, for even bringing it up. I appreciate it. Yes. So he continues. Dutchess County Sheriff's Office treats like garbage. 16 hours a day. Mandated. Yes. What are you going to do? Yes. Absolutely. Lunar Eclipse says, Larry, once we finally end the war on drugs, will you still designate the cartels as narco-terrorist organizations, hold big pharma and China for fentanyl and opioid deaths? I'd be the governor, so no. As president, maybe I'd have to consider all these things, right? It's a whole different consideration as president. But as governor, no. Governor, all I want to do is make my addicts not addicts anymore. I want to get my people back into the workforce. I want them living their lives and being happy. So that's really the issue. So yes. The team record says, you hit the nail on the head, Larry. Thank you. Yes, brother, I know, right? I wouldn't know these things if I didn't actually go visit prisons and talk to COs, right? I literally sat and had lunch with them. I sat and talked to them. As they came out, changed shift, shaking hands, talking. Yes, absolutely. I know this 100%. Yes. So, all righty. Guys, I hope this was a good show. We went a little bit longer than I thought. I hope I answered your questions on the war on drugs, and the opioid problem. I hope I answered your questions on corruption and, of course, also prison reform and such. And I hope I answered your question on how I can win this election. And I hope I didn't lose real name hidden. I hope he's still part of it, understanding that this is the only way. If you can donate, please donate, guys. It does matter. If you want to get a shirt, please get a shirt. Every bit matters. But most importantly, please, if you can sign it, if you're a New York State voter, you can sign a petition, please sign a petition. Remember, you cannot witness your own petition. You must sign a petition, get someone else you know who's a New York State voter, have them sign another petition, separate page, swap, you both witness, mail it in. Michael Lara, it's just 2. There are 30,000 registered libertarians in this state. This show reaches thousands of people. If everybody does it, that's a lot of signatures. If you can get 2 or 3 more, even better. That's a lot of signatures. Every bit counts. We have to get these signatures in. It's the system they gave us. I hate the system, but I have to play with it. Hopefully I can fix it. So more and more and more to the best of our ability. So Brian says, great show, Larry. Thank you again. Of course, I'm trying my best. LarrySharpe.com is the place. And of course, libertarianism.com to support the show. Guys, I will be out in New York. I will be in New York City tomorrow, and I'm heading up to Western New York. I will be in Erie County, and also Genesee County, and also Allegheny County, and 1 or 2 other counties in Western New York on Sunday and Monday. Check the page if you live in Western New York. Love to see you there. I will be out there doing that. Not Long Island, sorry, but I will be in Long Island another weekend. This weekend is Western New York. I will see you all very soon.